IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatter 030046104457. 20. Human influences on ecosystem. Food supply. Modern technology has resulted in increased food production. Agricultural machinery can be used on larger areas of land to improve efficiency. Chemical fertilizers improve yields. Insecticides improve quality and yield. Herbicides reduce competition with weeds. Selective breeding improves production by crop plants and livestock. Monocultures improve yields but can have negative impacts on the environment. Intensive farming improves yields but has resulted in habitat deterioration and reduction of wildlife. Habitat destruction. Reasons for habitat destruction include increased area needed for farming, extraction of natural resources and water pollution. By altering food webs and food chains, humans can affect habitats. Deforestation is an example of habitat destruction. It can lead to extinction, soil erosion, flooding and carbon dioxide buildup in the atmosphere. The conversion of tropical forest to agricultural land usually results in failure because forest soils are poor in nutrients. Pollution. Untreated sewage and fertilizers can pollute aquatic ecosystems. The process of eutrophication of water involves increased availability of nitrate and other ions, increased growth of producers, increased decomposition after death of the producers, increased aerobic respiration by bacteria, resulting in a reduction in dissolved oxygen, the death of organisms requiring dissolved oxygen in water. Non-biodegradable plastics can have detrimental effects on aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems. Methane and carbon dioxide are building up in the atmosphere, resulting in the enhanced greenhouse effect and climate change. Conservation. A sustainable resource is one that can be removed from the environment without it running out. Some resources like forests and fish stocks can be maintained. Forests can be conserved using education, protected areas, quotas, and replanting. Keywords: species, community, parasites, saprophytes, decomposers, trophic levels, urbanization, industrialization, eutrophication, conservation, CFCS, ozone layer, sewage, parasitism, denitrification, artificial fertilizers, putrefaction, combustion, biodiversity, fishery, poultry, dairy farming, insecticides, DDT, dichlorodiphenyltrichloroethane, sulfur dioxide, acid rain. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatter 030046104457. Glossary. Acid rain, sulfur dioxide and oxides of nitrogen from chimneys and motor vehicles form acids in clouds causing acid rain. Acid rain damages buildings, plants and freshwater life. Pollutant, a substance present in large enough quantities in the environment to be harmful to living things. Weathering, the process by which rocks are broken down into small fragments, e.g. by wind, rain, and frost. Short MCQs with right answers. 1. Vitamin A deficiency is a big health problem in some parts of the world and can cause problems such as blindness. Rice can be genetically modified to enable people to make vitamin A when they eat it. 150 g of this rice provides 60% of the adult recommended daily intake of vitamin A. How much rice does an adult need to get 100% of the recommended daily intake of vitamin A? 250 g2. Which feature of bacteria makes them useful in genetic modification? They can reproduce rapidly. 3. Which component of bacteria is genetically modified to produce human insulin? Plasmids. 4. Fermenters must have carefully controlled conditions. Which condition has the correct reason for controlling it? 5. Which statement about genetic modification is correct? It produces a new combination of genes. 6. Bacteria are useful for manufacturing products for human use. Which statement explains why they are useful? Bacteria reproduce very rapidly. 7. What is a reason for using bacteria in biotechnology? Bacteria can make complex molecules. 8. Which human activity is likely to contribute most to global warming? Emissions from burning fossil fuels. 9. Drainage from fields where nitrogen-containing fertilizers have been spread can result in fish dying in rivers. Which sequence of events describes what happens when fish die as a result of water pollution by nitrogen-containing fertilizers? More growth of water plants, more plant decomposition by bacteria, less oxygen dissolved in the water. 10. Which change would lead to an increase in biodiversity in an area? Stopping fishing in an area of sea for several years. 11. Areas of tropical rainforests are often cut down and cleared. After cutting down the trees, the areas are normally burnt. What are the effects of this activity? IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology. M. Rashid Chatha 030046104457. 12. What is the function of the outer water jacket? To maintain the fermenter at a constant temperature. 13. The diagram shows a fermenter that is used to grow the fungus Penicillium to produce penicillin. What is the function of the outer water jacket? To maintain the fermenter at a constant temperature. 14. What could be a consequence of deforestation? Rainwater runs off the land causing flooding. 15. What make nuclear fallout dangerous to living organisms? It damages DNA. 16. The levels of carbon dioxide in the Earth's atmosphere have increased during the last 100 years. What is the most likely cause of this? Cutting down large areas of forest. 17. Since 1970, sulfur dioxide emissions have dropped by 95% in some parts of the world. What is the main reason for the reduction in emissions? Fewer coal-powered power stations. 18. A persistent pesticide is one that does not break down. What is the disadvantage of persistent pesticide? It becomes more concentrated at each level in the food chain. 19. Weeds are growing in a crop. What should be used to kill the weed? Herbicide. 20. Which agricultural activity can cause the most pollution? Adding artificial fertilizers. 21. What has not increased the world's food production in last 100 years? Natural selections. 22. Which human activity can cause eutrophication of lakes? Using fertilizers. 23. Insecticide sprayed in low concentration may increase the yield of a crop but may also be harmful to wildlife. What is an explanation for this? Insecticides enter the food chain. 24. Which feature of deforestation has the greatest effect on the atmosphere? Reduction of photosynthesis. 25. What is reduced when untreated sewage is released into rivers? The concentration of oxygen. 26. What is reason for conserving plant species? To obtain drugs for medicinal use. 27. What is the effect of pollution by nuclear fallout? Increased mutation rate. 28. What is reduced after deforestation? Soil fertility. 29. To avoid extinction of a rare plant species, a botanical garden keeps a collection of seeds, known as a seed bank. Which condition will prevent these seeds germinating whilst in storage? Low temperature. 30. What is not a reason for having conservation programs? Introducing species to new environments. 31. Which activity will be least likely to lead to the extinction of species? Conservation. 32. Which two gases both contribute to global warming? Carbon dioxide and methane. 33. Which does cutting down trees contribute to the greenhouse effect? There will be less carbon dioxide absorbed. 34. Which stage in the treatment of sewage removes large floating objects, such as plastic bags? Screening. 35. What would be unlikely to increase the risk of human famine? The use of pesticides on crops. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology. M. Rashid Chatha 030046104457. 36. A large area is heavily overgrazed for many years. What is the effect on soil nutrients and soil erosion? Soil nutrients. Soil erosion decrease. Increase. 37. What are possible effects of deforestation? Loss of soil. Flooding. Decrease in atmospheric carbon dioxide. X. 38. Which pollutants of water can lead to eutrophication? Fertilizers, herbicides, insecticides, sewage. X39. What is used to sustain fish stocks? Education, legal quotas, eating more fish, restocking. X40. In some areas, farmers who grow genetically modified, GM, corn have to make sure there is a gap between GM and non-GM crops. What is the reason for leaving a gap between the crops? To prevent cross-pollination between GM and non-GM crops. 41. What is a requirement for the production of penicillin in a fermenter? Adding the required amount of sugar as a nutrient. 42. What is disadvantage of using bacteria to produce human insulin? They mutate frequently. 43. The mitotic index of a tissue is the percentage of cells in a tissue that are undergoing division. The table shows the number of cells in two tissue samples, X and Y. Tissue sample number of cells undergoing mitosis. Number of cells not undergoing mitosis. Total number of cells in the tissue sample X, Y. 25, 15, 55, 95, 80, 110. Which statement is correct? Tissue X is growing faster with a mitotic index of 31.3%. 44. What is required for the production of penicillin in a fermenter? Adding the required amount of sugar as a nutrient. 45. Why are bacteria in biotechnology and genetic engineering? Bacteria share their genetic code with all other organisms. 46. Ligase enzymes are used in genetic engineering to join human DNA to plasmid DNA. 47. Which is an example of genetic engineering? Altering the DNA in crop plants so they are resistant to herbicides. 48. Why is yeast used in bread making? To produce carbon dioxide. 49. Which is a reason for using bacteria in biotechnology? Bacteria can make complex molecules. 50. What is an example of genetic engineering? Producing plants that have been given genes for resistance to insect pests. 51. Bacteria can be used to make human proteins. Which statement explains why this is possible? When a human gene is placed in a bacterial cell, bacteria have the same genetic code as humans. 52. Insulin is now produced using genetically modified bacterial. Previously, diabetics were given insulin extracted from the pancreas of animals. Why is the insulin from bacteria regarded as better ethical choice? It is accepted by vegetarians. 53. Plasmids are often used in genetic engineering. What is a plasmid? Loop of DNA. 54. Which statement describes the role of DNA ligase in genetic engineering? IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology. M. Rashid Chatha 030046104457. Joins the human gene to the plasmid. 55. All organisms share the same genetic code. This means that bacteria can be used to make proteins using human DNA. 56. Scientists in one country are using bacteria to break down crude oils in abandoned oil fields. This produces natural gas which is used as a fuel. Why are bacteria useful in the example of biotechnology? Bacteria can reproduce very quickly. 57. Which chemical reaction is catalyzed by maltase? Maltose glucose plus glucose. 58. Penicillin is made in a fermenter by growing organisms. Which type of organism is used in the production of penicillin? Fungus. 59. Which method is used to produce lactose-free milk? Using lactase to break down lactose. 60. A crop plant has been genetically modified to make it resistant to herbicides. Which is a possible disadvantage of introducing this new crop plant? Some weeds might become resistant to the herbicides. 61. Bacteria are used to make insulin. This happens in several stages. 1. Bacteria synthesize insulin in fermenters. 2. The insulin gene is inserted into a bacterial plasmid. 3. Removal of the insulin gene from a human chromosome. 4. A section of a plasmid is removed. In which order do these stages occur? 4, 3, 2, 1. 62. Bacteria can be genetically engineered to produce human proteins such as human insulin, which enzyme is used to join the human gene and the bacterial plasmid together to create a recombinant plasmid. DNA ligase 63. The stages describe how genetic engineering can be used to produce human insulin from bacteria. 1. Extract gene for insulin from human DNA with restriction in enzymes. 2. Cut bacterial plasmid DNA with restriction enzymes. 3. Join human DNA to bacterial plasmid DNA using DNA ligase. 4. Insert recombinant plasmid into bacteria. 5. Replicate bacteria containing recombinant plasmid. Which sequence will lead to the production insulin by bacteria? 21-435. 64. Bacteria can be genetically engineered to produce human protein. What happens during this process? Restriction enzymes are used to create sticky ends in human DNA. 65. Which enzyme would be used in a biological washing powder? Protease 66. Genetically engineered bacteria are used to produce human proteins. Into which component of the bacterial cell is human DNA inserted to produce human proteins? Plasmid 67. The sugar in milk is digested by an enzyme. Which enzyme matches with the sugar to digest? Lactase to digest lactose 68. With which kingdoms do bacteria share the same genetic code? Animal, plant, fungus, and Protoctist 69. Which process makes use of genetically engineered organism? Using bacteria to produce insulin 70. What is a reason for conserving plant species? To obtain drugs for medicinal use. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatha 030046100457. 21. Biotechnology and genetic modification. Bacteria are useful in biotechnology and genetic modification because of their ability to make complex molecules and their rapid reproduction. Bacteria are useful in biotechnology and genetic modification because of lack of ethical concerns over their manipulation and growth. The genetic code